All right. I would also like to take a quick opportunity to acknowledge Mr. Terry Link for being here with us today. Okay, I now ask Mr. Bob Dold to join us in the front. Thank you. We will be asking him the same questions we asked Mr. Schneider. All right, everybody please sit down. First question. Oh, I'm sorry. Your introduction. Please go ahead, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, everybody, and I certainly want to thank all those sponsoring organizations for putting this together, and I want to thank all you for taking your time to come. This is a very, very important election, and one that I think actually the vast majority of our nation doesn't have the opportunity that you all have. This will be one of the most competitive races in the entire nation. Out of the 435 races for Congress, only about 35 will be competitive. That means you have an opportunity to determine what direction you want our nation to go. So I want to let you know, just in terms of, I'm out there spending a ton of time listening to people. I'm a father. I have 3 children. Cost of food, cost to fill up your truck with gas, the cost of higher education, the uncertainty around retirement, the increased costs of insurance, all of these things in essence are making it harder and harder for people to raise their families today than it was 5 years ago. I think we ought to be making it easier for people to raise their families, not harder. Each and every one of us. Anybody here know somebody that's been out of work? Unemployed? How about businesses that have picked up and left? Anybody know any of that? Well, let me just tell you, if we look around the area, this is an incredible area, a great place to raise a family. We've got some great educational institutions, access to top quality talent in terms of a workforce. Our infrastructure system gives us a competitive advantage over our neighbors. But we need to have a business-friendly environment, because this is a great place and our workforce is fantastic. And I've got 30 seconds left in my opening. We need to grow our economy. And one of the ways that we grow our economy is talking about immigration reform. I'm a proponent of immigration reform, and frankly, the lack of leadership in Washington needs to be changed, because we need to have immigration reform passed if we want to get our economy up and moving again. I'm for the DREAM Act, and I'm sure some of you have probably been told stories that I'm not. Let me make sure that you hear it directly from me. I'm in favor of the DREAM Act and want to make sure that that gets passed. But it's not just that. There's so many other things with regard to immigration reform that need to move forward. And that is all the time I have in my 2 minutes.
Okay, our first question. Waukegan High School is under-resourced in many ways. Schools need to be able to provide adequate guidance counseling, or students will fall through the cracks. With limited support available in under-resourced schools, college attainment is low, and even high-achieving students may not make it to college. If elected, how will you work collaboratively with the Education Action Committee of the Waukegan Action Team of Lake County United and School District 60 representatives to leverage existing White House initiatives and connect the school district with federal funding for successful college attainment? 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Great question. First of all, let me just simply say, walking in and seeing the Waukegan to College students here, that's a great program, and certainly one that we want to foster. We want more people in Waukegan that are looking forward to college, and I think that's certainly a great program. The other interesting thing is that as we look at education, I believe education is the building blocks for everything that we want to do. Okay, everything that we want in terms of our society, in terms of making sure that we've got an educated workforce, it's about our competitiveness globally, is to make sure we've got that educated workforce. I fought hard to make sure that we were keeping funding for some of our most needy schools. It really was a shock to me to find out that Brad Schneider actually voted to cut over $4 million from 10th District schools right up here in the North Chicago area. The most needy schools. For me, I think that's unacceptable. I fought and we put language in to make sure that we were safeguarding those fundings. And then to have your representative vote no, I think was bad. We need to make sure that we are talking about how do we enable people to follow their dreams. Whether that's off into a trade school, or that's off getting a PhD. And from my perspective, the head of my educational advisory board was a gentleman by the name of Laz Lopez. and Laz was the principal of Wheeling High School, and he has about a 38% ELL student body, about 42% free and subsidized lunch, and he said, you know what, we're going to make Wheeling High School a STEM school. You talked about STEM earlier in one of the earlier talks. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We live in the third largest manufacturing district in the country. And I think it's so important that we are educating students to be able to take jobs in the 21st century. STEM education is going to be one of those things, and those resources are going to be critical.
Thank you. Now, Erica Molina will come up and read a third question.
Comprehensive immigration reform has been stalled year after year, with both parties not being able to come to a consensus. Over 11 million undocumented individuals are being affected by the lack of resolve from both parties. Close to 3 million individuals have been deported and their families have been torn apart. The question is, would you be willing to set up a meeting within 90 days of taking office with us from Waukegan Action Team Lake County United, yourself, and 4 other congressmen or women who are not fully supportive of comprehensive immigration reform to dialogue on this important issue?
The answer is absolutely. Short answer, right? And not only that, I'm committed to work with folks like Luis Gutierrez and others who have been leading on immigration reform, and get others because I think it's absolutely critical as we look at our economy. We look at how do we get the 12.5 million people to come out of the shadows. You say it's 11, I think I've heard numbers that are certainly north of 11 million, but how do we get them to come out of the shadows to be contributing members of our community? How do we fix the legal process, which I think is certainly flawed? How do we make sure that we, yes, we're protecting our border in the midst of a war on terror, but we also need to fix the legal process. It takes far too long for them to be able, people, immigrants. And again, if we take just a step back, we are a nation of immigrants, a proud nation of immigrants. We also need to fix the H-1B visa. We educate the best and the brightest from all over the world here in our nation. As soon as they graduate with that master's degree or PhD, what do? We kick them out to go compete against us. When what we should be saying is, please stay here. Help create the next new patent right here. Help create the next new innovation so we're creating more American jobs right here. So as we look at immigration reform, I think it's absolutely critical. Yes, we're committed to work with others that are not necessarily on board, and I want to make sure that I go to Washington to be your voice. We're not going to shy away from the tough issues. We've demonstrated that time and again. I'm proud to have been ranked as one of the most independent, bipartisan members in the Congress in my time there. Some people think that's wrong. I happen to think that's good. I think being able to work across the aisle is one of those things that's very important. Right? We've worked with people on the other side of the aisle on a regular basis, and we'll continue to do so. Because the things that unite us are so much greater than the things that divide us. Who wants good jobs? Republicans or Democrats? Well, I certainly hope both. Right? Who wants a good education for their children? Republicans or Democrats? I certainly hope both.
Okay.
We're out of time already?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. All right. Now, Juan will come up and read another question for us.
Thank you. 3.5 years into what should be a recovery from the Great Recession, Latinos and blacks are still experiencing an ongoing jobs crisis characterized by high levels of unemployment.
Yeah.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Illinois unemployment rate increased in 2013 to 9.2%, while the U.S. unemployment rate dropped to 7.4%. In Illinois, the unemployment rate was 17% for African Americans, 11.1% for Latinos, and 7.9% for Caucasians. If elected, will you work with us to assure job training money is linked directly to job placement?
The answer is that we need to have job training programs, and we need to have the resources to make sure that not only are we bringing more jobs here, but when the jobs come, that we're actually hiring folks from the area, right? That we're putting them to work. This is a proud, proud community. And we've got a great workforce, and I'll put our workforce up against any around. We need to talk about how do we make sure we're bringing more of those jobs here, right? That's really one of the keys, right? Why are they going up to Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, or over to Indiana? We know it's not because of the weather, right? We need to make sure that we're bringing, think about this for a second. When you think about the jobs that are here and the synergies that we have, You want to take a ride with me down 294? Abbott, AbbVie, Baxter, Takeda, Astellas, Dow, Kraft, Walgreens, Allstate. Right? From where we sit today, there's probably about 18 Fortune 500 companies within a 20-minute drive from where we sit right now. Not to mention all those other companies there that help support them. We should be busting at the seams and leading the country, and yet the unemployment rate, as was just pointed out in Illinois, is worse by a couple of points over the national average. And as we look in certain communities, in North Chicago and Waukegan, I'm gonna argue that the unemployment rate for African American males is going to be significantly higher than even what was mentioned. And if it's that high, how about for the youth? And if there's no job for the youth, what are they doing? Certainly nothing good. This is our opportunity to get up and out and to help the Illinois economy. And this is going to be all of us rowing in the same direction. Right? This is important. Again, people ask all the time, why in the world would you ever want to run for Congress? Right? It's a dysfunctional body. Well, I believe as a bridge builder, we can actually come together and solve problems so that we can get more people back to work, that we can have a brighter future. That's the real problem.
Thank you very much.
We need to solve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question from Celeste Flores.
Okay. Waukegan and Lake County residents are anxious for a new, sustainable, and healthy future for their lakefront that can restore our environment and drive the economic revitalization of this community. Long-term plans have been presented. More is needed. The question is, would you work with us to help secure financial investments to this long-term plan for our Waukegan lakefront?
The answer is yes, and it's not just the Waukegan lakefront, right? It's our lakefront in general, and it's our lake. Now, my opponent likes to get out there and say, oh, Bob Dold wants to drill in Lake Michigan. That's just not the case. That's absolutely false. The first bill I introduced was the Great Lakes Water Protection Act. It took me about 3 weeks after I got there to introduce the Great Lakes Water Protection Act. I'm an Eagle Scout and a Scoutmaster, and frankly, I'm proud to have gotten the endorsement from a number of different, well, Conserve America, which is a conservation group, and I think it's important. Waukegan Harbor was one of the things that I worked with the EPA, I worked with local organizations to try to make sure we were cleaning up the harbor. I worked that Senator Kirk, when he was member of Congress, worked through. We actually worked with folks in Waukegan when there was a seawall that was down that jeopardized our ability to potentially move forward. And we were able to work with them to make sure that got done so that the cleanup could continue and actually happen. The jewel of our ecosystem is right over here. And frankly, the gateway to the Great Lakes for Lake County is right here in Waukegan. This is an economic opportunity for Waukegan and for Lake County, and we need to make sure that we are utilizing it, and we need to make sure that we are protecting it. So the answer is we have to make sure that this jewel is something that we can protect and make sure that we can bring economic opportunity down there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dold. You now have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Well, again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here on what is a gorgeous Sunday, an absolutely spectacular Sunday, and I want to thank you for taking your time to be here. This election is going to be an important one, right? And I have to tell you, here's the question that I have for all of you. How many of you have lived a better quality of life than your parents or grandparents? Show of hands. Right? How many of you believe that your children, can raise your hand with confidence that your children or grandchildren have a better quality of life than you? Are you looking around? Has every hand gone up? Until every single hand in the room can go up with confidence that our children are going to have more opportunities and a better quality of life than we've experienced, don't we have work to do? This isn't about partisan politics. This is about people rolling up their sleeves and actually getting things done for the people. I have a job. I run a business right down the road. It's a small business. I work with about 100 people. For me, that's 100 families. I have a title. The one that's most important to me is husband and father. I don't want to go to Washington forever, but I do want to go and make sure that we're putting our country on the right course, that we're solving big problems. And right now, I don't know anybody that thinks Washington's working. We're certainly not working well. I want to go and make Washington work well. And you know what? I've demonstrated time and again that I'm willing not only to take on my own party, but to be a bridge builder. Again, ranked the most independent bipartisan member in the Congress in my time there. I think that's exactly what people are looking for. So this is going to be a very, very close race. So I want to make sure that you know that I'm asking not only for your help, I'm asking for your vote. Because this is about family. This is about how do we stand up and speak out and make sure that it's easier for us to raise our families tomorrow than it is. Thank you.
Another quick question. If elected, do you agree to meeting with the Waukegan Action Team of Lake County United within 3 months of office?
We'll do better. We'll meet in the first month.
Deal. I would like to start off by thanking the Waukegan Action Team of Lake County United and supporting organizations for putting together this forum. Bringing together institutions in our community is an important event to demonstrate the power within our community. It's not easy, but necessary if we want a successful future. But also, I would like to thank all our candidates for joining us today. We are looking forward to working together and meeting within the first 3 months of your term. It is important to know that our work here is not done. It is crucial that we all go out and vote on November 4th, or take advantage of early voting, which is going on right now until November 1st. The Lake County Clerk's office is in the back with information regarding hours and locations. Some of you may be sitting here and thinking, well, I am unable to vote. That may be true, but that does not make you powerless. You have the power to influence and remind others that you can go out and vote. Another opportunity for all of us here today is to go out and help get out the vote. In the back, you will find a table where you can sign up for a specific day and time in which you can help get out the vote here in your own community. Thank you, everybody, once again for being here. Have a good evening.